What's up, Go enthusiasts? Last week we covered Game 1 of the Chujialanki Cup Grand Finals last year. That's a world championship where the Grand Finals were between Dang Yifei and Xin Junso in a best of 3. In last week game, I got to give you commentary partially from Dang Yifei. I attended a masterclass where Dang Yifei told the story of that game, how he played it, what he thought the mistakes were, what he thought the important parts were, and it was awesome. So feel free to check out the last video to see game 1 of this series, but this is game 2 against Shinjinso. So Dang Yifei is up 1-0, they swap colors, so now Dang Yifei plays white, Shinjinso plays black. And Dang Yifei told us to prepare for this game, he had a look at what openings Shinjinso is playing as black these days. Typically the black player gets more control over the opening because they have the first move after all the corners are settled. You see, like, at this moment, move 5, it's odd move, it's black's move. So Shinjinso played this 3-3. Apparently this was somewhat similar to what Shinjinso had been playing at the time. And so Dang Yifei had a plan. He was going to approach here, and then apparently this whole thing up to 12, this was the plan. Dang Yifei had prepared to play this one space hide enclosure, and he liked this kind of game. Okay, fine. So we actually get to know how deep they prepared into the Fuseki. That's fun, right? To know how deeply they were just getting ready. It's not like Shinjinso got trapped by Dang Yifei's plan. This is also Shinjinso's plan. And when he plays this two-space low pincer, if anything, this is going to turn out well for black, because Dang Yifei does not like getting into the first possible fight, especially against Shinjinso, but also against anybody. He doesn't like going for a complicated Joseki variation. So what he did is he played the two-space jump, which is the one that I play when I want to not play the complicated variation in this area. The typical one that, the class full of 9 dans all asked, why didn't you play here? This is normal. This would have been good, but there's going to be this fight. And it's not like Dang Yifei doesn't know this fight and a lot of the details about this fight. He rattled off a variation which I didn't even know about, to be honest. I'm not sure I could fully remember it. He knew all the details, but nonetheless said, even though I know it, I don't want to play it against players in the real game, because he doesn't want the opponent to be playing like an AI against him. He wants the opponent to fight him with fighting. He wants to emphasize on the middle game, I think, is the sort of direct translation of what he said. The middle game is really long, and you can just start it early by going for a fight which isn't the first one that the opponent studied. So you two-space jump here. There's nothing that clear to study. Black shouldn't really be cutting right now, and so black just defends like that, and white could play invasion like this. And so now we have a sort of different landscape, and you could still make a fight. Like, we could see a black cut at some point soon, or we could see something strong happen on the top side. As a matter of fact, we do. In the game, black plays approach here, and then white immediately plays peep, and then a lean, looking to maybe surround that one stone. This is something that you could never study in a quarter pattern, because you wouldn't know how it's going to affect the upper left part of the board. And the upper left can have a huge impact on this. So Dang Yifei is far more comfortable to start the fight. It's not that Dang Yifei doesn't want to fight in the opening. He just doesn't want to fight in the opening against AI, against his opponent's AI study, right? And so that's why he decides to play two-space, even though he knows that it is slightly inaccurate, maybe. The reason why you could say this one is slightly inaccurate is just that in terms of speed, it's not going to that important of an area. So you can say, like, when black defends the corner and white is not in the corner, then the black stone is more important than the white stone. Like a small speed difference that black was getting more value with the area that they added strength to than white. It's such a minor difference, and it allows Dang Yifei to play the game that he wants to play. He wants to play his own type of fighting. So he leans here, puts pressure on this one Blackstone. And he said he thought this was going to work out well. Actually, I want to go back. Exactly how this fight starts. There was something interesting he said, which is that the only reason he played here is because he was playing Shinjinso. So if he wasn't playing Shinjinso, he would have played against the right side or against the bottom side, something like this. But he plays against the top side because his opponent is Shinjinso. Shinjinso is very good at just naturally securing the area. You know, if black would get to play here again and then start to grow an area like that, um, that's hard to deal with as white. And so Dang Yifei really wanted to get ahead of this kind of thing happening against Shinjinso. So I thought that was interesting. Um, Shinjinso just answers in the upper left corner. This is a not a typical answer if you would have any other upper left corner enclosure. So the fact that it's a 2-space high enclosure makes it so that answering like this is far better. If instead black stone there had been um, the small knights enclosure or 1-space jump enclosure or even the large knights enclosure, it's less likely that you would see a 2-space jump here. But the reason why it's so nice for black to play this 2-space jump is that it also helps secure that upper left corner's potential to be invaded. Like the white has some chance to go in and just steal that territory, and this really helps out in those fights. When you have the tighter enclosures, white really wouldn't be thinking about invading right away, so there's no need to add extra power in the local area of the upper left. So that's why Shinjinso could play in the upper left, just 2-space, and white played Peep and Knight's Move. So this starts the first fight. Black should handle that, that one stone somehow. You don't want to just play away and let white cover it and kill it and get all the top side and save all their groups. So you've got to do something about it, and Shinjinso does the normal thing of Knight's Move. Dang Yifei said he had been reading what if Shinjinso does the other normal thing of push, and then Hane, and extend here. Dang Yifei thought this was going to work out well for him, and I agree. I think this sort of looks uncomfortable for black. It's hard to imagine black being able to make a good shape as they save this. It's possible to imagine black saving it, but it's hard to imagine black actually making white's shape bad somehow from this situation. White is ahead, looking to surround, lots of ways that black shape can turn bad, and that makes it tough for black to get a grip on white shape. So that's why Shinjinso did not play tough there, but just Knight's moves like this. And then the plan Dang Yifei had is not what he did. He played just block here, and that's because he was looking at this one and he said he didn't like it. Normally you play this and then the goal is that you can cut and kill the top side and then black just gets something in the center. It's not that important. This would be a good variation for white if it's going to work. And same thing here, we want to play like this, and as long as we can surround and be stable, then if this is going to work, that's also good. But Dang Yifei seemed to think this is quite dubious for white. Like, when he was actually looking at it in the game, basically before it happened, at this moment, he was thinking, okay, if I kick and then I can link up, that should be good. Making a linking shape to cover your opponent should be very powerful. But then when he was actually looking at it happening and thinking about what would happen if we went like this, and here, it looked like there were so many weaknesses. So now he was thinking, what happens when black cuts here, for example? Well, I'd have to defend the right side, right? But then there's so many weaknesses of these two stones. It's not like black can immediately Atari. That's not working, but it just looks really difficult to handle. So maybe something like this. Yeah, maybe white needs to play Atari here first to make that heavier so that this is better for white when white wins the ladder. That's possible. And it's a complicated fight, but it's gonna depend eventually in this kind of variation on black being able to strike in the upper right. Basically, both sides have a lot of burden in this fight. It's gonna be really hard. And Dang Yifei also knew he can play like this. This isn't gonna be broken or anything. When you play like that, then black does get to solidly connect and run and split the two groups, but white gets a very nice shape on the upper side. So it's really nice. These stones, you might think that, wow, that's like super over concentrated. People tell you your three stones are supposed to extend like one further line than two stones, supposed to extend one further line than one stone. Like there's some proverb about it that there's a certain amount of distance you're supposed to jump. To be honest, it's bogus. Um, there's no certain amount of distance you're supposed to jump based on how tall your wall is. That's not how it works. It's how far you can jump is based on how strong both players are in the local area. And so naturally, as your wall gets stronger, as it gets taller, the the wall is going to be more likely to be powerful and therefore more likely to be supposed to be played away from the taller it is. However, you should actually look contextually all the time. And so many times, uh, people will think, oh, I have to extend all this way, but the opponent will immediately invade. They don't know what to do. And the reason why is because the extension was an overextension due to a bunch of surrounding opposing stones. So anyway, the point is here, that one stone is not misplaced from that white wall. You wouldn't really want it anywhere else because black has so many stones preparing to attack this white group. One space jump like that is not a particularly bad shape for defense. It's reasonable. Um, so still, you can say, locally speaking, at least to me, I feel like I like the black direction. So white having to run these two groups, or maybe having to run, but at least having to save these two groups. In between, there's a black group which is just like perfectly connected and running. Usually, this is going to be a good strategic movement for black. The fact that the shape is better for white is, compensation. So it's not terrible. But I personally would feel comfortable as black here. White just has to jump, has to be a little bit patient right now. Black chooses to play Knight's Move. So if it were me, I'm often going to be very stubborn about it and try to play this one, even though I know that my opponent is super thick and could totally cut me. But I just feel it as a point of pride. I'm supposed to play that jump cover. It's good to see that the top rows do not have pride that leads them to leave cuts behind no matter what. This is, of course, a bad strategy. But nonetheless, it's one that's in my sort of habit as I, got better in the game. And yeah, it makes a lot more sense to play a Knight's Move here, so that the cut that white could aim at is much easier to handle than otherwise. Now, white's just gonna play a probing move. If white would actually cut, this is really silly. The two stones here are not misplaced, and white is getting broken on the upper right. So there's no way that that cut can be done in any time soon. White plays here. So why did he do that? Well, this is Dong Yifei's habit, as I said in the first game. So if you haven't seen that yet, I'll be referring to it a lot. Dong Yifei always, when he's thinking he's about to give up an area, he wants to make the opponent defend it in every which way. And he wants the opponent not to be proud that they got it. So the reason why he's playing this exchange now is because he's worried when he gives this up, trying to defend his 4 stones, when he lets black take the upper left, later when he tries this kind of thing, black might try to kill him. But right now it'd be probably pretty unreasonable. So Shinjin-so just covers like that. If, black plays like this would work a lot better later on when white has already exchanged to thicken this part. But while this area is still thin, this is going to be very nice for white to be able to block and generally take control on the top side. So the reason why he did this is so that later, if he wants to attach or generally run these 4 stones out into the center, like, excuse me, yeah. If he wants to run them out like that, then he's going to be giving black the upper left as that happens, but this exchange makes it much, much, much easier for white to still use that from the left side, and potentially even invade into the corner, depending on what happens. So, in the game, Tang Yifei was already satisfied having had that probe exchange and having black sort of over-concentrate himself like that, and he chose to run on the right side. So this is, of course, putting a small amount of pressure on the black upper right corner, and at the same time hoping to build this with his, what used to be a weak group in the upper right, and now seems to be pretty strong. Here, Shinjin-se plays an incredible move, to be honest. This is one of the moments which really separates Shinjin-se from the average top professional. And by average top professional, I mean, absolute amazing players. But this moment was beyond special from Shinjin-se. I couldn't believe that this was the blue move, even though I saw it and I thought I understood it. I still couldn't believe it was the blue move, but it's the blue move. It's the AI suggestion. Feel free to pause the video. You'll never find it. Tiger's mouth here. This is the best move. It's really incredible. This move is designed to save the 3 stones in the upper right corner. Those 3 stones are feeling some pressure, but to save them in better shape by using the white shape weaknesses against him. Dang Yifei said he missed this move, totally understandable to miss this one. And it's pretty hard to handle. So after this, Dang Yifei just played empty triangle to connect, because he had to connect in some empty triangle. If he would try to play like this, then black could cut, and white is getting in trouble in the upper right. That's not good. And if he had to play this empty triangle, then his cutting points are even more severe. That doesn't make any sense. And if you played like that, then there's still some weakness with this coming, but black can even take the corner first and just hold that against white, so that's not good. So you can see this empty triangle response from white is actually the fastest thing that he could reasonably do. And after that, now black saves in the corner. So what he did here, Shinjin-se, is he thought, oh, I can just save. And he thought about probably kicking, and he probably thought about sliding. These are 2 obvious things. I can't imagine that he wouldn't think about these 2 moves as first options, like reasonable things. But if you play here, then you can see white would want to hane. And then if you answer, then white gets to Atari like this. This is this variation where white is not having to worry about his cutting points here. And as black, you sort of feel like some kind of value slipped away. Like you should have had something to use those white cutting points. So a lot of people would think, okay, after kick and here, let me cut across. This is a normal method as well. But then white would cut and play like this. And you still have really nothing to do with these center weaknesses, even if you play like that. Ultimately, white's going to be able to block, and it's not good for black. So Shinjin-se thought, well, then maybe I only can do that one, but this is so lame. When I play here and I get thick in the right side, I still can't press on the white weaknesses between my 2 black groups. So there's no chance to cut after I defend myself. Well, then what that means is, instead of looking to cut, I should look to make white slow. So what he did is he played here first, asking white which method of connecting that white was going to go for. And when white did it the entirely reasonable way of fixing this way, black said, that's fine. Now I'll save the same way I was going to save anyway, and what I gained is just this small amount of power from having a additional, like tiger's mouth, additional reinforcement to my black group in the center. What you gained is a small amount of power from having that empty triangle on the right side, but my gain is better. So with respect to how to use the weaknesses that white had, the sort of knight's move diagonal one space jump shape has a lot of cutting points, a lot of weaknesses. Shinjin-se didn't just hold it for an unspecified future where really there was not going to be anything happening in the future, but he decided to kind of use it up right away, but in a way that made it so that white remains somewhat short of liberties and awkward because there was no fast response to his move. Meanwhile, Shin Jin-so's move is not fast in itself, but it definitely gained. It got more power than what white got. So this was like really high level from Shin Jin-so to look at all of the different ways that you could theoretically use knight's move diagonal one space jump and be like, yeah, I've seen everything. None of it is worth anything. I'm giving up on it all right now, but not in a way that loses value, in a way that gains value. Like, this is the kind of move which is, it looks like nothing, but this is usually the main gap that I see when I go from looking at AI versus AI to looking at pro versus pro. Like, human pros usually can't find this kind of move, and it happens all the time in AI versus AI games. So you can see how people call him artificial intelligence. This is just the kind of move, the kind of blue move that you just never see in pro games, because it's too hard. But Shin Jin-so can do it, so I guess it's not too hard. Anyway, after that, Shin Jin-so has saved himself in the corner, and Dang Yifei makes this pushing exchange, and he's figuring out how should he handle his own white group now that black saved in the upper right corner. How should he handle the white group on the right side? And he decided to push here and then turn like this. And in the review, he was sort of like, first of all, he said this is bad, this is not good, and then he was like, these are the reasons why I did it. He was sort of like defending his past reasoning, and then explaining why that reasoning that he used was not good here. So this move is a mistake. The reason why it's bad is frankly pretty obvious. So like all the people in a masterclass there could tell this is not a very great move. It's simply slow. That's all. When you play here, black played the slide to save themselves, but when you turn, black doesn't have to save themselves anymore. They're already alive in the corner. And territorially, there wasn't a very big territory in the top side here that we're doing anything about. The only reasons why this can help is to potentially make eyes for the white group on the top side. Usually that's not a very good way of saving yourself. And also to potentially save the white topside group here. Those 4 stones, there's some chance that they could be running up to the first line to try to make eyes. And when they do that, there's a chance that they can connect underneath to this turning stone. And that's actually the stuff that Dang Yifei was reading into. He had read some variations where he could potentially connect in the future. And he thought, wow, that Aji looks really nice. That probably makes this turn a lot bigger than it normally would be. And it's already not like that unusual of a move. So if it's not that unusual and it's a lot bigger than that, then maybe it's the best move. That's how Dang Yifei thought. It's not correct because the future ways of using this move are not going to be putting black under very much pressure most of the time. This is like doggy door style saving. I discussed a little bit in the last time how doggy door style saving requires you to play very aggressively with the other groups. So once you say, I'm going to be able to save this with eyes, that means that you need to be getting compensation in territory and playing fast, should the opponent ever make you actually do that, because those eye-making moves are not going to be very big territorially. They're not going to be getting that much value. So the way that Shin Jin-so approached this is he said, okay, you're looking to save yourself in small areas. That's fine. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that you cannot challenge me with a big area somewhere. And he pressed here. So this is the best move by far. It's a great idea by Shin Jin-so. It means you can save yourself in this upper right group if you want with eyes, but you're not going to be able to make the right side really, really big. So a lot of the time, white would want to make this area really big, white would want to make this area really big, and if he could get huge threats like this, then even if black got a counter threat where black could separate it off and start trying to kill this white group, it could be worth it even when white makes eyes, because white would be getting a huge area otherwise. So that's what Shin Jin-so is preventing by playing this leaning move here. He's making sure white can't get a right side to be proud of, and also it's hard for white to get a bottom side to be proud of. So this is a really awkward position for white. Dong Yifei said white has no good move. Which I agree. That's like the way that Shin Jin-seo set it up here. He was intentionally trying to prevent white from having any of what Zichen would call sustainable development. Anything that would be feeling good to keep on playing in that area and building. So Dang Yifei decided to simply spend a move on the topside group. He thought this attach is good combination with the probe move that he played earlier. So he's forcing black to be a pretty small area in the upper left. Nothing too proud over there. And if he just passes the turn defending his group, it should be valuable. But you can see there's a little bit of inconsistency here, because already the reason why he played the turn, the reason why he played here was because it had influence in allowing white to be able to save in a sort of passive manner through the topside. And already white has defended that in a way that makes him less likely to use that doggy door. So it's sort of inconsistent with the first move to set it up, to then defend yourself next, but he did this simply because he couldn't find anything better to do. I would say because of that, Shin Jin-seo already gained a little bit off of this, and that was basically the punish of the turn on the top side. So really immaculately done by Shin Jin-seo to show how the turn is bad despite the aji that it creates. It's just by movement elsewhere and saying, oh, you want to use that aji? Go ahead. It's not big, so it's hard for white to be able to do anything as long as I deny you big moves. After this, Shin Jin-seo continues with the same strategy, this knight's move. I think this knight's move is wonderful and shows Shin Jin-seo's understanding of the game, deep understanding of the strategic ideas. And here Dang Yifei made another mistake. He said, at the time, I couldn't believe that answering this is at all reasonable. So he played on the bottom side. So in the review, he said the best way is here. In fact, he gave us homework, and he told us, he had us figure out what is the best between playing here, playing here, playing here, and capturing. These 4 moves. The right side jump is the best, but the reason why Dang Yifei thought that can't possibly be good in the game is reasonable, is fair. He thought, if black gets the knight's move and I just one space jump, then this idea that I'd been having, that this whole area will grow to be large, I let black eliminate that idea as a forcing move. Right? If I get pressed back here, then I just can't grow that area at all. And not only that, but black is even building something in the center, and this is forcing for black. That can't be fair. That can't be right. Why would black be able to gain in a forcing manner against me? Additionally, it just doesn't look very fast. And Dang Yifei is very sensitive to that. He does a good job of, when he sees a move that's slow, he will actually eliminate it from his consideration. When I see a move that's slow, I will think, oh, that's slow. Well, last resort. But Dang Yifei will just say, nope, I won't do it, it's slow. In some situations, that can cause you trouble, where, yeah, it actually wasn't slow, and you needed to do that. Otherwise, you're going to get in trouble. So in the game here, when Dang Yifei chose the bottom side instead, which probably also wasn't that important compared to the upper right capture, at least, or even the upper left. The bottom side was just a big move. It's available here, but it's normal. It doesn't change the state of the game very much, right? It doesn't change the complexion of the game, I should say. This allows black to play the jump on the right side, and this does change the complexion of the game. So here, white traded away the right side in order to build the bottom side a little bit more. And the problem with that is that also the white upper right group is weak, and it's hard to figure out how to save that because of that empty triangle being a nuisance for white. That that shape is so awkward and hard to handle, hard to deal with. So in the game, white chooses to capture directly, which puts pressure on black in the upper right corner. Black needs to answer like this, and white has a potential eye there. But white now, he already believes his position is bad. He looks at all the ways that he can try to save, and he says, none of them are good. I'm going to take the one which I think is the least bad, which was to play bamboo here, allowing black to hit the vital point, and then to play jump and live. So that's really painful. That really hurts to play, I imagine. But this is all like a planned sequence. So the reason why he couldn't do more is because if he tried to play like this and this, which is so natural and good feeling, black is going to play Atari here. And you can't connect because black is going to push here and Atari, and we're just dead. It's horrible. So you can't play like that. You could play Hane and extend like this, but then you have hardly any eyes. So, I mean, we're just getting in massive trouble here. This could be a pressure against white, but also black could try to play here and put pressure. Oh my goodness, it's very, very difficult for white to make actual eyes there. And so what Dang Yifei thought is, instead of pretending I'm going to be able to live with this stuff in a good way, I'm going to admit that I don't have a great way, and at least get the maximum amount of counter pressure. So the reason why he bambooed like this is so that black would have to play like that, and then white gets very thick out to the center over here. So now when white plays jump and lives like this, although it was very painful to have to live, at least there is a chance that white can continue this by playing the push and cut through the black center group. So black is a little bit weak at the end. Dang Yifei thought this is the best way to resolve it, but clearly, overall, the game has become good for black. Black played this forcing move. I don't know why Shinjin So played this forcing move. It seems like just purely Aji Keshi and bad. Aji Keshi, of course, meaning removal of Aji when you could have used it in a better way. And the better way that I'm envisioning, the most obvious way, is that you could use this to aim at a ko instead, and then therefore be able to potentially make an eye shape, which there's no shot he can make when he plays here. So I don't really understand why Shinjin So decided to exchange that right away. Especially since he could have reserved it and even used it as a co-threat later, and there was really nothing white was going to do that was going to stop that. But anyway, after that, Shinjin-sa plays in the center. So this was designed to prevent the push and cut threat that white left behind from being good. And at the end here, you can see white is very strongly alive in the upper right, but black has great thickness towards the center. All this is to say that that white group is probably going to have to run, and black is going to be very happy to run alongside it, getting the left side or the center control. This is not looking comfortable at all for white. White doesn't even really have a territory lead. Only the bottom side is being built, but the left side seems to match it. Anyway, the game continues, so it's not good, and because of that, Dang Yifei plays a bit more aggressively than he normally would. He's trying to shake the board, bring the game back, and he plays this move that apparently there's a technical term for in Chinese, but it's kind of hard to translate. The translator was having trouble. I think the best way to describe it is that this is a shove move, this attach. Attach in the center of the board. In general, attach to force the opponent to overdefend is the concept. So the idea is that black already seems to be covering this area, but that area is actually really small when you look at it. And on the other hand, the white area on the bottom side, that looks really big. So what if we both got what we wanted? You get that thing, which is really small, and I get the bottom side, which is really big. Sounds good, right? This is a common idea that people get in the center to try to bully the opponent into taking what they said that they were going to take, if you think that what they said they were going to take is not big enough. So basically, Dang Yifei wants to naturally cover any chance that black could play an invasion down here. That stuff looks very scary, if that could ever happen. And he's trying to do so in a greedier way than just simply playing a move like this one. As a matter of fact, he actually gave us a homework again, where he said, okay, wait to play. Do you want to play here, here, or here? And of course, he said the move on the bottom side, the fourth line move, where you're just simply taking the area, is the only one that's completely impossible to pick, since white is behind. You could choose to attach, and you could also play that move in the upper left. So that would be the sort of safer move that takes care of the 6 stones, make sure that black can't get a crushing attack against them, at least anytime soon. Yeah, when I was doing the homework, I thought that that move in the upper left was probably better, but he played the shoving move, and it makes sense. It makes sense. I used to play this kind of shoving move a lot when I was a bit weaker, and then eventually I realized something, which tends to happen here. There's actually a question in the class about how this happens. I found it pretty funny, so let's get a little further here. So black played the hane, and white haned back. Dang Yifei said this is the wrong hane from Shinjin-so. And I can sort of get his point, but I'm not sure I totally understand. He said Shinjin-so is supposed to play the hane on the other side, and I believe the reason is basically what happened in the game. So white hane's back, he's looking to build his bottom side, and black plays the triple hane. Some people want me to call this a double hane, but it's a triple hane. This is a double hane shape, right? If you just see this on the board, you call it a double hane. And then if you see this on the board, you have to call it something different. So you call it a triple hane. That's what I believe. Anyway, white connects. So the point that I think Dang Yifei had is that although black can do this and can now extend, and white cannot cut. So knowing that he couldn't cut, Dang Yifei just played hane, threatening a double atari. Black answered, and then Dang Yifei took the territory. Knowing that black can't be cut there, Shinjin-so thought, I got past of your original, shoving move. That should mean that I'm in the better area, and I'm in the better shape, should be good for me. But Dang Yifei thought black is going to the wrong direction here. So the reason why he thought that black had the wrong hane is because, in general, there's nothing here. There's no area there. And there's a lot of area over here that could actually be territory. That's what I'm talking about when I say there's no area. Obviously the area exists, but it's not going to be points. You're not going to get a lot of points there. And so I think the reason why this happened, this whole variation, originally both sides know who's leading. So when white attaches here, black, aware that he's leading, doesn't want there to be extra complications. If he would have played this hane, then white could very well have chosen to hane aggressively back, and then black would have to worry about a situation where white is both threatening to go through, cut black, maybe make some crazy fighting, and at the same time threatening to make a big area on the bottom side. So because this is like a multifaceted, scary-looking, threatening fight, black didn't want to go for it. Therefore, because black was leading, black played the more conservative way like this, and Dang Yifei, aware that black is leading, uses this shove to ask black to play in a conservative way. And it's really the hane, although it seems like it's an aggressive move, the hane is the one which was conservative. There was no way for black to be more aggressive after that. This is all basically forced. And at the end, you can still see that white is building the bottom side in sort of the way that he could have done. Whoops, I used the wrong color. Yeah, this is sort of the way that he could have done if he'd directly taken the bottom side, right? So somebody asked in the class, hey, Dang Yifei, I know you said it's completely impossible to do this fourth line move that he suggested in the homework, offered as an option. He offered at this moment, we could totally play here, and then he flamed it in the class. Well, why would you flame it so much when in the variation that you played, where you're saying that you're gaining, you got the same thing? And Dang Yifei said, well, it's a bit different. First of all, I made black overconcentrated, etc. Even if I'm getting what looks like mostly the same thing, it's the manner with which I get it which matters. I think this is I'm paraphrasing here. I'm sort of trying to interpret. I didn't hear the original Chinese, or I did, but couldn't understand it. Actually, you know what? This is probably a good time to show the clip. So some people, I imagine, are curious what this looks like. I'm going to show the clip right now. I'm going to edit it in.
跳我这个棋也战斗不利，所以我只能是，我如果直接飞回来呢，这个头被它挺在这儿，这个黑棋的形状非常好，非常完美啊，所以这个也不太好，所以说先搬一下，搬一下再飞啊。如果他这样再搬我头呢，那我就
Yeah, we could hear him, but at least for me, I couldn't understand it. So the translator was working alongside to translate live for me. He goes quite fast through his variations. It's a bit tough to keep track of, but I study afterwards and hope to understand. Here, I think I understand. So the concept that Dang Yifei was talking about is something that I noticed a lot when I used to play this kind of shoving move, which I played a lot when I was a mid-dawn level player. I would shove my opponent, and then I would end up sort of behind in the fight, only getting what I could have gotten anyway, while my opponent gets this sort of better shape. You can see here black has a shape-wise excellent shape, where black is cleanly connected and pushing through, and I used the wrong arrow again. Sorry. Cleanly connected, pushing through right in the middle of the white shape. Seems like it's great shape for black. However, when you shove, you'd usually think, oh, I'm going to get the best direction, but they're going to get the better shape. And then you think, well, with my direction, I'm going to clean it up and I'm going to gain. At least this is how I thought whenever I would play these kinds of shoving moves. How it actually works is that the opponent gets to choose a direction too, a little bit, and when they choose the direction, they also get the good shape. So when you shove, you sort of get bad direction and bad shape most of the time. However, you at least get something somewhere. And it's in general going to be in the direction where you originally played the attaching move. So here, although he had to let black through, and one side or another, he let black through, but he still did manage to cover basically the same thing he was looking to cover anyway. And it's very important that this one stone out here is not like answered to. So it actually means that white has a lot of pressing power into the center here, that move isn't covered. And white in general has a lot more control over the sort of top side. What I mean is like the 4th, 5th, 6th line of the bottom side. So this was a good result for white, although in the end he was getting the same thing that you could have gone for directly and gotten a bad result for. Anyway, hopefully that made sense. Here Shinjin So played attach, and Dang Yifei said this is a surprising move. To be honest, it looks like the exact kind of thing that Dang Yifei would do all the time, where Shinjin So is thinking, I could just naturally give, like at least to me, I would be thinking, what if I give you the bottom side? Okay, you want to build it all, then go ahead and take it. And you can imagine a variation like this. But if you play this kind of variation out, you can look at it and think, well, I'm getting a lot, but white really should be happy for themselves about how they're getting the bottom side. So Shinjin So tries to run interference. This is the same style of move as what white played over here in the upper right corner. These absolutely match. So in the game, Dang Yifei has to answer. He chose to answer with Hane over here. The concept that Shinjin So had was similarly, he's going to fight in this local area if white tries to play on top. And if white answers, then Shinjin So should be able to extract something out of this stone and get value outside in the center. So of course when white plays this Hane, Shinjin So's plan was I'm going to Hane on top. And now Dang Yifei was reading a lot, and he showed some of that reading. it's kind of hard for white to play. So a natural idea for white would be to play like this. You can see spoilers. In the game, white played triple hane. If white plays Atari and cover like this would be trying to capture the 2 black stones. If that's going to work, that's great. But it might not work. So it's a bit hard to read, but it looks in general like black is going to be fine in this fight, which was a bit surprising to me. Because when I was looking at this sort of cursory first glance, I thought, well, white can play Descent here, and then black is locally speaking gonna be dead. So white can't play like that, but white can play here. If I would play here, then obviously black is alive. But if white is spending 5 moves in a row on the left side or whatever, then that means that black can cut over here. And there's more cuts on this side. This is very dangerous. White has to be careful. And there's also inside stuff in the bottom right corner. So overall, this looks really, really dangerous for white to actually try to keep everything. It's possible maybe that we can do something. But this is not even remotely easy. Oh, I'm looking at something like this now. I don't know. I'm just spitballing. But if it goes like this, then this black group could live in a ko. So by playing like that, and then by playing... Oh, no, it's just alive. It's not even ko. This black group can just live, just like that. This is going to be good for black. If black can live on the bottom side, especially if he can leave a ko there, that would be amazing. So the point is, white cannot play Atari here, cover, and kill the 2 students, because they just have enough room to be able to save on the bottom side. There's enough resources there. So then you might think about the other Atari. And then black could connect, and you could play push here. And basically the problem now is that black can push again. They're just threatening to play hane, double hane, you know, maybe you could call it hane, triple hane. The same concept over there is always going to be annoying. And when black threatens that, they gain also movement to be able to cut here. So basically the reason why black attached in the first place, compared to playing something maybe more normal like this one, is that black was thinking white is planning to cover that cutting point with whatever they would respond to me on the bottom side. And I want to make sure that my follow-up is as good as possible. So he thought if I just have a block follow-up, maybe I'd still be in trouble. But when I attach here, white can't really play on the top side because my hane follow-up is much stronger, much more likely to be able to save myself on the bottom. So that's why we had this, and then why it isn't so good for white to continue playing on the bottom the whole time. Eventually this cut is just going to work. And there's not that much that that white can do now. Anyway, if I'm gonna give you some kind of counter shortage of liberty problem where you can't cut because you would be captured, then I could definitely manage a way to connect to that cutting stone, and then that would make it so that the end result looks like black getting a massive area out here while white gets the bottom side here. Where particularly it's that one stone could get captured, and therefore black is getting all that outside. So the point is clear, right? You can't Atari either side. I think that's relatively basic. And by relatively, I mean for their level, not for my level. I would have a hard time. But still, my intuition is the same move that Dang Yifei played to play here, but he played it for a much smarter reason than I would have played it. Triple hane, to me, it's just like the way to be fast, the way to make sure that you aren't going to be losing tempo too bad. But he thought, well, the actual meaning is that in these variations where I'm trying to defend myself on the bottom side, I always have a cutting pressure. Like it's difficult for me to link up between those 3 stones and the bottom side stones. So the main reason why that's difficult is because I haven't been trying. And so he thought, okay, what really is the vital point in this position is to play exactly there. So that stone would cleanly link up the 3 stones to the bottom side and allow him to fight in a sort of unified manner. And then he thought, well, if I play there directly, black is going to ignore, call me slow. That can't be good. So instead of playing there directly, he decided to play triple hane, force white to, force black to connect. This is the normal response. And then plays the vital point. So the concept is, I didn't have to respond to the triple hane here. Normally you have to connect something with that shape. But I didn't have to do it here because black cannot break me in a way which is bad. So in the game, Shinjin-so played a clamp here. If he had played a Atari and push through, even if he plays connect like this, white is just going to turn. Black can play this forcing move. Black can play this move. That's forcing. The whole thing is forcing. And it's typically going to be really bad to make this kind of shape. So this is a shape that I see a lot in double-digit Q students' games. In general, we should not do this, okay? The main reason that this is bad is that there are a lot of split knights moves. So that's a split knights move there, you can see. And that's a split knights move there, you can see. And that's a split knights move there, you can see. So those are white knights moves, which black has the 2 stones in the middle of. That means that white is cut and black is not cut. So usually that shape is really bad because when you have a split knights move, black only has the one thing to take care of, and you have to take care of both of your sides separately, right? So white is cut, black is not cut. It's sort of fundamentally unfair shape, usually unfair good for black. In this case, it's actually going to be good for white. So this is actually a good variation for white. And the reason why it's good for white here is because in this case, white has very little burden from those split shapes. Normally, when you get split like that, you have to spend a lot of effort to make sure that your outsides are both safe. But here, they're perfectly safe anyway. They have so much thickness behind them. And normally, because you have to spend time defending each side, the split knights moves, you can never attack the middle black. But in this case, because you're so strong, you actually can. So it's black who's going to have trouble running out if he went for this variation. And so probably Shinjin-so was surprised by this. I wouldn't know for sure, but I would guess he was surprised by this. Honestly, though, he may not have been, because he came up with the best move of clamp here. So he knew that going in and splitting the shape and breaking all this stuff would have only made it so that his stones on the bottom side are heavier and more attacked. And he decided to start with this clamping move. This was a wonderful move, a really, really beautiful move. And Dang Yifei was sort of just complimenting Shinjin-so's shape instincts for like 3 minutes straight. as he was describing how this move works. The moment that Shinjin-so plays this move, Dang Yifei goes into a think for a while, and then eventually he just gives up and plays away. He couldn't do anything. And he said, I just had to collect myself and play some normal moves. So how does it work? So how does this clamping move work? The obvious way to try to resist is to push through like that. And this makes a split one space jump. So similar to the split knights move, another common splitting shape is the split one space jump. The reason why I call these splitting shapes and not cutting shapes is because typically the person who is cutting is not cut themselves in splitting shapes. So split one space jump is a shape where white is not cut but black is cut. That's unfair. However, this is not really a split one space jump. Usually those have 3 white stones here to cut across the 2 on the one space jump. And the reason why, of course, is that there's still a cutting point. This cutting point is just going to work really strongly for black because white ends up really, really thin basically everywhere in the fight. First of all, there's no way you can Atari like this because you're just hurting your own 3 stones really bad. And you can't, you don't have time. You can't cover the cutting stone and these other cutting stones all at the same time. It's not possible. Not gonna work. And yeah, so then you might think, well, I don't have to Atari there. Maybe I can Atari through here, but that can just connect. And yeah, probably we would play Atari here first. It's not going to be reasonable to try to push through. If you answer, then we can Atari and protect like this and ladder that way. So that's not working. Finally, you might think, oh, it's fine. Instead of trying to Atari and capture your cutting stone right away, I recognize that it's not possible, but I'm still going to make an outside fight like this. But this also doesn't work because black can push here. If you tried to capture these stones and let this happen, that's not going to be good. This split knights move is a proper split knights move, the kind that I tell my students about so that you don't do it. This split knights move way is actually going to be weak on both sides, and in general, when that happens, you are in big trouble. So that's not good. And if then we have to answer to this, then a wedge here is going to come. And this is also very bad. So now the only way for white to try to save is to play like this and here. But now there's so many weaknesses in this part. This connect is sente, and black has time to go back and try to cover your 3 stones in the center. This fight is not working at all. So that's why white played away. He couldn't push through. But you might be thinking, okay, even though I can't push through, maybe at least I can play Tiger's Mouth, and instead of aiming at a big win, I'll accept a local shaped loss, at least in order to turn back to cover those 3 stones. It would be great if we actually could cover the 3 stones, but we still can't. So still, black is going to target. Excuse me. It's unreasonable to let black try to save down here. This is going to be too hard to actually kill that black group. So we're going to have to accept. And when black Atari is like this, they can just push. So instead of connecting, which could maybe make something work for white, it's not really going to work, but like maybe something, somehow we can like combine and cover. Instead of allowing for that kind of thing, black can play a bit more lightly by playing push here, allowing you to cut if you want, because that would give me a huge squeeze like this. Obviously going back after your 3 stones in the corner, this is going to be great for black anyway, despite dying with those 3 stones on the bottom side. So there's no way that you can do that. You'd have to answer, and when you answer, then that gives black the timing to be able to play here, and you can no longer attempt to cover this black they managed to get ahead of you in the pushing battle. Then you can see black is just clearly ahead. Okay, so we can't play Hane, and we can't play push. We can't play anything. We can't fight this clamping move at all. There's no way to do it. Nothing can be done. And this is what Dang Yifei was complimenting. It's a really nice move. This is the move that holds this together. Actually, when Dang Yifei played the way that he played on the bottom side, he thought he'd already gained like quite a bit here. He thought, oh, I'm going to be attacking these 3 stones, and I have the bottom side territory. That seems great. The position should be wonderful, but then Shinjin with a wonderful clamp to save the day. So Dang Yifei gives up. He plays this move in the bottom left, and when Shinjin extends, he takes the immediate endgame. This is sort of a rare variation. A lot of the time you should not do this because it allows black to have more control over the left side. But he did it here because it was in concert with the only move that he thought he could play in the center, which is to simply connect like this. It's a very sad move to play to continue the fight, but obviously when you fix these weaknesses, we're threatening again to do some strong stuff in the center, so black should cover that. Black chose to cover it like this. Dang Yifei was saying it was also possible to play, instead of Atari, this is sort of like Atari from the inside, and this is Atari from the outside with respect to the fighting in this area. So this Atari outside would have been thicker, for sure. In general, outside moves are thicker, but Atari inside means that Shinjin wanted this area to be bigger. He wanted more points, which is also understandable. So it was like a dilemma, a kind of close call between those two. The game now is still good for black, but actually it did become a little bit better for white overall. The shoving basically worked. The black attach on the bottom side, that would have been a lot stronger if Dang Yifei hadn't come up with his plan to play this triple Hane into Vital Point concept. This was a really nice method to handle the contact fighting. Triple Hane and then Vital Point was, I think, perfect. And even though Shinjin played perfect as well, it still ends up being a slightly good result for white on the bottom, you could say. Although black is getting some area in the center here, white being able to actually solidify all of this and then also get the next move. It's feeling better for white than it used to. Dong Yifei's comments were that it's still good for black, but the game is playable. Which is, yeah, it means that he can still win in the end game, basically. To Dong Yifei, that's what playable is. Can I win against players who make a mistake in the end game? And so he played this Hane, and he just said, all right, let's play Go. This is saving the upper side 6 stones, making sure they're thicker. Totally understandable. Black answers by capturing the corner. This is the kind of move where you look at it afterwards and you're like, oh, I regret. If only I had played in the corner first. So Dong Yifei showed some variation where he could try like this. There's a few ways this can go. I forget exactly what Dong Yifei's variation was. Was it? I think it was here and wedge like this. And then push and here and if here. So now you can see that this is alive because there's no short liberty, so I can get the connect incentive if I want, but I can't get anything more. We can demonstrate that. Connect and then answer. White is alive. This could have been done by white. However, you can see the end result is actually looking really, really scary. Because now black is going to try to kill these 6 stones. They have a huge wall on the left, so you can't really punish that area at all. And they also have area in the center, so these 6 stones are going to have to go on a mighty adventure. It's going to be really, really tough. And that's the reason why Dong Yifei played the strength gathering move first. He didn't want to have to go on a crazy adventure. And it's the reason why Shin Jin-so now covered the corner. So recognizing that once those 6 stones are no longer weak, the invasion would actually be pretty good, as long as that black influence didn't point towards a weak group anymore. So after that happened, white simply runs up, reducing the left side, reducing the center, just moving, and black played a probe. So what he was thinking is, we're entering the end game. I could play on the left side right now, but soon white is going to be playing on the right, or I could play on the right. And in general, I want to ask white whether I can invade this area. There's still a little bit of weakness in the bottom right. So he played this move, trying to get white to fall back. Dong Yifei, still feeling a little bad about the game, thought there's no way I can fall back. And his intuition apparently told him that he should be able to resist it. I thought this was interesting because he basically said he was listening to his intuition as a strategy, not as a move. So most people, when they see this kind of move, they're going to think, oh, intuitively, this is the type of situation where I should extend, or the type of situation where I should hane. In the game, Dong Yifei played the hane. But it's not because hane was his intuition. Dong Yifei didn't think, oh, my opponent attached here, in this situation I should hane. He thought, in this situation I should be able to resist. So his strategy was, I shouldn't have to give in this kind of way, where I have to defend the corner over and over, and black manages to get the area on the right side. This would be painful. There's no reason why black should be able to get all of that area and push us back to this stuff and even some endgame problem, when we were the ones who were supposed to have more strength here. You know, we played that vital point earlier. It seems like white shouldn't be that weak. So recognizing that, he doesn't just say, I'm not that weak, so I should be able to play hane, and then read the hane, and if it doesn't work, then he gets confused. He says, I'm not that weak, so I should be able to resist somehow. And in fact, the first variation he showed, so what I'm assuming was his first intuition, was to extend here, which is also my first intuition, so maybe I'm just projecting. But this is the first variation which he showed, which then black would definitely push here. These kinds of crawls, where you say I'll hane on the third line on either side, is very tenacious, very annoying. So obviously we can't play here and let black save in the corner. This would be alive, and that's not good for white. So after push and this, we'd have to answer. And then when black answers, they would still get some amount of right side. We can Tanuki, we can play away, we still have the corner, but it's annoying that there's these 2 cuts. So because of that, you can't really say you have an entrance to the center part of the black area. And basically, Dang Yifei looked at this and judged it and thought, this is not that good. I think I can do better. And so because of that, even though um, maybe that was the first move of his intuition, he got to come up with new ideas, which are other moves which still follow the strategic plan that his intuition provided to him, which is Hane. So Hane was his plan. This is the one that he read and he thought worked better. At this point, black pushes first, making sure that white is going to block. Um, and that exposes the cutting point, so black can play Hane. And this is threatening, um, obviously, this center area. There's no way white can capture one stone. On the second line here, white should figure out some way to thicken. As long as white makes this thick properly, then they can continue to attack the black group in the corner. But black, the reason why Shinjin-so is doing this, black is trying to say, although you can attack me in the corner, when I have some kind of living resource, a ko for life, or just life in the corner, and you get compensation in the form of outside influence, your outside influence points towards the nothing area. It, is a situation where white could be the one who's getting an area out here instead of black getting an area here. Basically, both players think that area is pretty garbage, and they're trying to get more points by going to the corner instead. So this situation becomes a bit of a reading exercise. How exactly should I put pressure on against this black group? And Dang Yifei finds a really nice move, which is probably not his first intuition again, but it also follows his intuition to play Tiger's Mouth here. This is great. When it was me thinking, my intuition told me you should connect. Solid connect. This happens all the time. It's very normal. But when you solid connect and black pushes here, you can't really capture like this because black can cut in sente and then play like that. Or in other manners, manage to basically save the group, make it harder to attack, whether it's like this, and then there can be some co-resource like that, here and co, this kind of thing. There's many ways that this could go, but the main point is, why did he diagonal instead of solid connect? Well, now, when black plays the pushing move, then white could capture a stone in the corner, and now when black cuts, it's not threatening to capture that one stone. So this ends up being a connecting move to that cutting stone. Now white gets the timing to be able to play in the corner first, and black would just be cleanly dead. So that's why he played the Tiger's Mouth. And that's why after that, Shinjin-so did not push, but instead directly played his own Tiger's Mouth, and they made a ko. So it's ko for life, like this, in the corner. Okay, yeah, my first attempt at finishing off this recording, I actually had an audio issue. So we are back again on another day here. This ko is complicated. So I didn't actually fully understand what Dang Yifei was talking about in the code trading, I'm sorry to say. I can tell you that the way that Shinjin-so did it, Dang Yifei had some valid criticisms of. So what happened in the real game is that white captured, and then black needs to find a co-threat somewhere, and in the game black chose to use the attach across as his co-threat, which Dang Yifei flatly stated, this is obviously not a co-threat. What he means by that is not that it's not big. Like, it's still clearly a pretty big threat. So what happens in the game, white wins the ko, because Dang Yifei didn't think that was a co-threat, and then black hanes. So of course, that means that black is building the left side. And he also got up over here, which can reduce the white bottom side and maybe even block the center in the future. It's definitely big. But the reason why Dang Yifei says this is obviously not a co-threat is that just the attach by itself already did like half of that. Like, this is in itself a good move, locally speaking. So when Dang Yifei says this is obviously not a co-threat, what he means is that the position doesn't get really much less efficient when I let you follow that up. That isn't like very special for black. Meanwhile, winning a ko is obviously special. Like, you would rather win the ko than lose the ko. So of course Dang Yifei played away. And he showed some variations. What if black had tried harder in this ko, which is a valid thought. Black could have played, for example, here to try to capture the top white group. And if he had done that, white would have to answer, and then the ko would continue going. This would have been pretty interesting, comparatively. Um, yeah, there's some stuff definitely that can go on here. I'm not really sure. I think the main point that Dang Yifei had was that, and I have no idea whether that's really a co-threat or not, but Dang Yifei's point was that if black really wants to keep fighting the ko, he has to play some losing co-threats at some point. So stuff like this, move at 99, that's a co-threat. White should answer, otherwise he's going to get in trouble with his whole group. But when black does that move, then white gets an extra point or two of territory on the top side. And so this is the reason why So probably didn't continue to try to fight the ko very hard and instead sort of gives up on it right away. He was anticipating that he's going to just lose points with his co-threats. And when that happens, white could accept a lesser value for winning the ko. And even when black wins the ko, it's not that special anyway. And so if white just gets a minor co-threat and it's still okay because the bad co-threat exchanges for black, it's like understandable that So just doesn't want to interact with anything that could give white more value. So he chooses to trade the ko right away. However, it's probably better. There is probably some sequence in there. I honestly couldn't understand fully what Tang Yifei was talking about, but there's probably some sequence in there which was good for So. And in comparison, here Dang Yifei said the game feels playable. Seems okay. And yeah, that's about the AI eval as well. In the end, black lost a lot here, more than 3 points to the AI eval from the moment when he attached. And yeah, some people asked where did black go wrong, and Dang Yifei mostly pointed out this attach in the first place. So if you do this kind of probing, which you've seen Dang Yifei and So do all the time, you really have to be careful and read out that you actually can fight on the inside and fight on the outside. Usually fighting on the outside, people will probe in ways where they know that that would be okay for them. But fighting on the inside is much harder to read. So probably So didn't see the entire variation where he hanes and white plays Tiger's Mouth rather than the solid connect, and then he has to make a ko like this, and then to read through the results of the ko probably is a lot more work than So did when he attached. However, it was basically forced. There was nothing that white could really, like nothing that black could do to stop white from railroading him down that kind of path. He had to just find good code trading at some point. And so the answer Dang Yifei had for what went wrong is that black just played this probe a little bit too carelessly, recklessly. And so because of that, black went from a pretty substantial advantage at their level to a roughly even game. And now white has the job to reduce the center and the left side, so he Ataris first. This is to make sure his top side group is more reinforced, and then two space. So this is gonna help him when when white gets weak here, when black tries to cut, when the fight continues, that Atari exchange will definitely help. But black is actually still gonna look for a cut anyway with this attach. This isn't exactly aiming at the cut, so when white plays here, and black pushes, and white hanes, black's not actually going to continue. He's just going to fall back like this. Of course, if he continued this way, then white would hane like that. And black is caught here, so you can see, for example, one variation where we are using that Atari exchange. If you hadn't exchanged the Atari, black could maybe capture here, but by exchanging the Atari and the black counter Atari, then these two stones are safe. This is why white played that Atari before playing the two space jump, and so that's why black came back like this and white played here. There was an interesting position that was quite like this in game one. I don't know if you guys remember, but it was a very similar situation where in this case it was Dang Yifei who is black and trying to cut. In that game, Dang Yifei directly pulled back without exchanging the additional push. And the reasoning he gave for that was that no matter what, he was eventually going to owe the move and have to come back here anyway. And he preferred to immediately fall back without giving the additional exchange. So I was thinking about that. And I was thinking, doesn't that same logic apply here? So why did So not play like this and allow white to turn to give white one less stone on the outside running to the center? isn't it that one stone on the outside is useful for white? And the answer is yes, that is useful to white. However, the black stone is actually more useful. So what black did here, Shinjin-sa was very, very accurate, as he tends to be. Pushing first and then playing like that is exchanging that move for that move, effectively. And you would think that the white move is more effective than the black move most of the time, but not in this case, where that white group is still quite weak, is still looking to be attacked by black in the future. So here when black takes the left side, there's still some problems with it, but if white tries to use those problems, black is going to look to counterattack the top side group. Um, in the review, Dang Yifei said, looking at it now, I think it's too hasty to go in and try to reduce the left side, but in the game, he went for it. He attached and crosscut. So this is trying to break the left side, and it's going to get spicy. This is going to make the game pretty interesting. So from here, black chooses to Atari first, and then white can counter Atari. So obviously, if white would answer to this, then all of the breaking doesn't make any sense. Usually when we try to break into a territory with something like a crosscut, the plan is to sacrifice a stone in order to at least get something on some side. So Nang Yifei is simply Atari'd here, allowing black to capture in the center, because that means he can Atari like this, and he can connect back. Dang Yifei thought this is going to be great for him, because he didn't realize what Shinjin-sa is about to do until sort of late on in the sequence. He said it was exactly when black extended here, he was like, oh. But he still has to connect like this, but Shinjin-sa is going to attack the topside group strongly. And this is the reason why that blackstone was so useful. By playing the blackstone and getting a little bit further into the white area here, it's much harder for white to make an eye space compared to if that stone were like a line further back. And additionally, when black reduces the eye space, he can aim a lot more strongly at the cuts in the center. So the reason why he shoved white further into the center is he thought, even though white gets an additional stone, which will help white when it comes to running out here, the fact that black gets an additional stone aiming at the critical eye space is more important. And he was right. Which is, that is sick. That is absolutely a sick level of strategic understanding from Shinjin-sa. Some absolutely crazily deep, just like I would never even think to apply such a strategy, but that's what happened in the game. Shinjin-sa is attacking this topside group really hard with this knight's move. White needs to try to connect and try to make some eyes. I mean, globally speaking, this white group is surrounded. There's no way that it should be able to escape, even if it continues to run to the center. So it needs to be able to make eyes in this area, which black is reducing, and maybe the top side, and maybe in the center. It looks rather difficult, but Dang Yifei feels confident it should be able to live, and of course he's right about that. He plays the diagonal move like this, and that means black should play to reduce from the left side. So this was a great move again by Shinjin-sa. It means as he reduces in from this side, he's still aiming at the cut. So it kind of effectively also reduces in from the right side. If black had immediately gone from the right side, white could fix the cuts and make some eye space on the left. But this way, when white tries to respond on the right side, it's going to be much harder for white to continue to take any space because the left side reduction is still aiming at that. So when white answered like this, black pulled back this way, and you can see the cuts are still super, super annoying for white. So this is very, very strong. Actually, Dang Yifei said, I don't know why I didn't play Tiger's Mouth. Which I also don't know why he didn't play Tiger's Mouth. Frankly, that looks like it's just an improvement over the game, where he played the direct answer. In the game, you can at least say maybe white gets stronger sente, that black should really answer in the center. But I think he probably just underestimated how strong this pulling back move is going to be, how much the cutting points really hurt on the top side. Because this is about to be very, very painful for white. And if instead he had played like this, then as the game continues, at least he's connected in the center, which is really going to help, especially since there's still some chance to make eyes in the center. In the game, we're going to see that he's not exactly connected, and it's going to be a little bit painful for white. So white needs to block here, because black has sort of limited his routes to the center and making good eye space there. He needs to get eyes on the top side. And this one obviously is aiming to link up to the white group in the upper right. So black can stop that. Black is going to try to stop that with the maximum pressure against that white upper right group, which you can pause the video to try to find the Tsuji. It's a pretty simple one. Black plays the peep like this. So obviously that means that when white tries to connect anyway, black is going to Atari. And Atari, and white can't save that one stone. White can only squeeze an Atari like that. White manages to keep one eye on the top side, not two eyes, but he can still make one eye on the right side like this. If black blocks, then white is still going to be able to make a tiger's mouth and secure one eye space. So that finishes off the life of the white group on the right side, but black gets the next move to attack the group on the top side. So the reason why white did this is just that white wanted to block and basically get the block and descend in gote, turn the position back to black and let black continue to attack him, but black plays here. This is pretty strong. Quite difficult to deal with. And in the game, Dang Yifei was thinking this isn't going very well, so he tried to do a move that's designed to swing the game back in his favor. He played the push through here on the bottom side. This is something that you can often do when you think you're behind and you're defending, is you dare the opponent to gain more. So if the opponent shows that they can really kill you, you say, great, well done, you were leading and you killed me, you win the game. But if they can't do that, then it can become kind of difficult for black to secure a territory lead. Basically, the point is that this white move, getting the chance to run through the center, really gives white a lot more potential territory in the bottom side, and it reduces the chance that black is going to get a territory there. So it's really a very, very effective territory move. It's hard for black to match that on the top side simply. But of course, Shinjin-so doesn't have to play simply. Shinjin-so Atari here first, and he played this one. Dang Yifei said he underestimated it. It was really good, actually. But to come back, even though Dang Yifei was challenging with this move, and in general, when you're behind and you challenge that you should try to gain, usually people don't regret that kind of movement unless they immediately lose. And he's not going to immediately lose off of it. He still said it was not a good choice. And he should have played instead the connect here. So the point of connect is that when black answers, he could then play away. I don't know if he's exactly going to be here or somewhere else, but the point is that now we would be cleanly alive on the top side. So even if black Hanes, you can see that this is a 4, do people call it a bent 4, but not in the corner, a bent 4 eye space, and white would be clearly alive like this. This way, white would have forced black to spend a move answering if he wanted to capture those 4 stones in the center, and would have lived in Sente, effectively. Basically live with half the potential to save those stones. In the game, instead, by playing like this, black could Atari here, and white can still save the group on the top side, as white does so. White plays like this. It's not like he misread the life and death. He knew exactly that he was going to live, basically no matter what black did. If black wanted to be really strong here, black could have chased it like this, and then when white plays like that, don't let it live cleanly. But if if black would have done that, Dang Yifei fancied his chances to try to save in the center when he already had the push through over here. It would be really awkward for black to continue when there's so much that, you know, so much power waiting for white behind here. So I don't know exactly how this would continue, but something like this looks really quite a lot like white living to me. That's why Shinjin-so didn't challenge. Instead, he played the cut here, and Dang Yifei didn't miss that, but he did miss how strong it was going to be. So the main point here is that we go to an endgame, and it's an endgame where, in the game Black played Hana in the center, this is black's Sente. So white needs to live. He can play Atari if he wants, but he needs to make this move eventually. Otherwise, he's going to be dead. So in the game, we're going to see that exchange eventually. And the reason why this was so great for black is it means that he can capture this 1 stone on the top side with the threat to capture these 2 stones in the future. And Dang Yifei didn't realize that he was going to be giving black a huge source of extra territory like that, like all of these extra points. um, could really win the game for black. So this is heading down a path where it's really going to be a losing endgame. After black cuts here, and then gets a whole bunch of potential extra territory, not just in the left part of the center, but black also has cut off and is going to try to capture the actual center. So in the game, Shinjinsa plays Hane here, which of course white is going to try to resist by trying to capture these two stones, and black can play Atari and block like this, and the whole center has become black's territory. All of that belongs to black. Um, that seems great. However, this was a critical mistake from Shinjinsa. Actually, this decision to continue and capture in the center is really bad. Instead, it would have been a lot better to play on the left side like this. So obviously white can't go down, you just have to let black block off the left side, like so. And the reason why this is so much better is because even when white spends another move in the center, they haven't managed to get the same kind of white territory yet. You can still look to reduce. And they haven't even managed to save these stones from being black's territory yet. So you really can't accomplish that much with just one move as white here. Black still has so much stuff to do. Meanwhile, in the game, when black spends the move to block in the center, like so, not only did it give white a lot of extra area in this side, capturing those stones, but the territory here, which was finished off, is like kind of over defended, you could even say. And it seems like the way that he did it as well, he was expecting that this would save those 3 stones on the bottom side and make these not white's territory, but actually white still has a nice capturing idea against those stones. So in the game, white is going to play away. If white plays Atari like this and tries to capture, this seems like it's going to work because black cannot escape like so. White can use the Atari in order to block. However, there's still going to be a wedge here, like this. This is probably what Shinjin-so read, but there's another way to cut it as well that we're going to see later in the game. So these 3 stones actually can be captured. I'm going to leave it there, and you can try to solve that if you're interested. In the game, white plays the Atari. So this was really huge because it's kind of like Sente, and it breaks the left side. If if you had played the other way and blocked the left side at this moment, then white's trying to reduce the center was more like Gote. Yeah, I mean, black could answer if he wanted, but it wouldn't be like as big of a deal if black chose not to answer. In the game here, when white plays this one, black really doesn't want to answer, so we're going to go see him use some Sente moves, like this very nice Sente move on the endgame on the top side, and then some Sente moves on the right side like this. This forces white to really define that eye. You can see white is actually going to go and make it. In this case, if black tries to reduce the eye, then white would connect back to the bottom right. So black plays away, and finally he chooses to connect here. He had basically nothing else to do that was that big on the board. And so it's really, really big that white gets this chance to Hane, break the left side with threat, and this becomes another moment where we had a homework from Dang Yifei. So the question is, should we block like that, or should we capture? Which one of these is the better move? And if you'd like, you can try to calculate how much better. It's pretty difficult calculation. Uh, anyway, the move in the game, Shinjin-so made a huge error here. He chose to play block, but it's honestly not close, and it would have been a lot better to play the capture here. I frankly don't know what happened. This is the kind of endgame mistake that some people say diminishes the quality of modern games, where this kind of thing can happen more often due to the huge amount of pressure, time pressure, but like also social and mental pressure that people are under as they play these world championship games. If Shinjin-sa was given this problem as like a study, then I'm pretty confident he would get it right 99 out of 100 times, and it probably shouldn't even take that long. But in a game, you have so much pressure, it can be difficult. So let's look and figure out how exactly we're supposed to tell the difference between these. So I'll tell you my reasoning, which um, I got the same answer as what I checked with Katago, that this one is 2 points worse than the other one. Um, when black blocks here, white's expected to be able to play this descend in Sente. Then white's expected to be able to play these in Sente. So when you count locally, you should usually count that whatever somebody can get in Sente, that's what's going to happen. White is more likely to be able to come back to play here in Sente than that black is going to come back to be able to follow this up. You can see white captured in the game. And it's less likely that that happens than that black follows up and plays this move, which would be gote. So you can see the borders of the territory pretty well defined when you think about what would happen next when black blocks here. The expected variation is exactly like this. And if black chooses instead not to block and play somewhere else, then locally speaking, white doesn't really have a Sente move. So this is Sente, but it doesn't actually gain anything, anything significant at least. Black could still basically block and get a very similar idea. And this would be probably the best move for white to try to play locally. And after that, then you could say that this one would be white Sente. And white could maybe make a couple of points here. But the main point is that what used to be black area, all throughout here, oops, wrong tool, sorry. This all used to be black area if black blocked, right? And instead, white can maybe get a couple of points himself. In total, you can see that this is changing about 15 points of area. A bit more than 10 points of black could be reduced by white playing, and white could also get a couple points themselves. However, it was gote for both. So this answering for black, white has some Sente after that, but the answer itself is not Sente. And when white plays, the best thing to do locally is almost certainly to be jumping in gote, and that is also not gaining, not Sente, not gaining time. And therefore, we can consider this a pretty, we should do some eyeballing, to be honest. In real game scenarios, you're not going to be calculating all the way out to the ends of the branches as you would in endgame study. But the eyeballing tells us this is a pretty pure double gote 15-point move. And we can go back to look instead at what would happen on the top side. So if white captures here, is that Sente? The answer is actually yes, that it is likely to be Sente. Maybe not when there's a massive thing going on over here as well, the Atari. But the reason why this is likely to be Sente is that white can try to start the ko with the hane across, which baits black to cut, but when black does that, white can push like this. This is going to be really dangerous for black. Black basically needs to try to win the ko, but white can play into the corner. And if black really does win the ko, when white lives in the corner, that was huge. That was more points than winning the ko was worth by a lot. So this is unacceptable. But it's also unacceptable to lose the ko. If you actually try to kill the group, then white's going to come back and try to win the ko with Atari and Shortchange Liberties against black. So this is really unplayable. That's why in the game, after black answered on the left side and white captured, black had to answer like this. And whether he answers this way or answers like that, this way is a bit more dangerous because there's still this very dubious aji of the crawl. This is actually, I didn't see this when I was reading properly, but you can see this ko is effectively going to be the result. If white plays in Sente, white can get to this result where, for the most part, white has reduced. You could say this is relatively similar to how it would be if it looked like that. White has reduced the center that could have become black's area. Meanwhile, when black plays first, if black had decided to capture here, then when white plays somewhere else and black plays this way, black would be getting all of those points that I mentioned earlier. This is a lot, actually. Something like, well, technically speaking, you're supposed to count what happens as well when black does not get the next follow-up. So even if white plays, then white's further follow-up should only be to connect here. Black could still get a couple points inside, and black could still even cut to get a few points like this. So the cut itself is only gaining an expected like maybe 8 points, something like that. But the fact that you capture a stone, secure the topside territory, and you have such a massive continuation, maybe an additional 8 points or so of expected value, and all of this in reverse sente. It's significantly bigger than a 15-point gote. Even though there are no other gote available that are really close to a 15-point gote, the reverse sente, which is like significantly greater than 8, probably more like a 9-point reverse sente, is obviously better than a 15-point gote. So this one was a huge error by Shinjin-sa. This is the kind of thing which, if you watch Shusaku's game, Shusaku will get right. So if you're one of those people who really want to have a reason to believe that people were better at Go in the 1800s than they are today, then this is like your main ammunition. This type of thing. But to be honest, the only reason why this happens is because the modern professionals are almost never playing this type of endgame decision with enough time, which they were basically always doing in Shusaku's day. They didn't have clocks that they were running throughout the game most of the time. So in the game, Dang Yifei got the chance to capture, and that was huge. This has made it so that white is now leading in the game. Two very large endgame mistakes by Shinjin-sa in a row here. First, not blocking the left side, and then secondly, blocking the left side. Go is hard sometimes. And then white captures, black answers like this, and white plays this move. So this is the cut of the 3 stones on the bottom side. This is the reason why white is now leading. Black has nothing to do to save those 3 stones, so he just connects like that and allows white to capture, which is the best endgame sequence. If black had tried really hard, then of course it would only make white capture harder. And if black tries to block like this, there's a few ways to do this, I think, but the most clear to me is to play like so. I guess black could recapture, but we're going to block here. And if black tries to come after us, the point is that now we have this ko to potentially gain a liberty. And if you don't let me gain a liberty, like so, then I still get to connect back the other way. So like this, by just asking you about whether I could win the ko, I managed to save my stones and capture your stones on the inside. Black could, in theory, I guess, in this variation, fight the ko, but when white wins the ko, it's an absolute disaster to lose all the center territory. So that would be unplayable, and black doesn't try, and instead, white secures the bottom side. So white is now heading into the endgame with a lead. Black actually does get the reverse sente on the left side. It happens in real games, but you aren't supposed to count it. when you do expected value calculation, you really shouldn't count on this kind of thing happening. White starts the ko. So this is going to become a pretty complicated endgame. But the reason why white is starting the ko here is because he thinks he should have more ko threats. And he's right. I think white definitely does have more ko threats. We're going to see that happen. So white, first of all, has this push, which is a really comfortable ko threat. We're both asking to reduce, and then also asking whether black is going to, break in, let us break in. So black needs to stop us from breaking in, but we managed to already push them back a little bit in the center and push out our bottom side. So whenever you can play a ko-threat, which is also kind of about the territory situation, you should feel very satisfied and prioritize it. That's why Dang Yifei plays it first. Black plays a simple ko-threat, white plays an Atari. Black answers. At this moment, we have the final homework question from this game, which is that black Atari is here, and white has 2 choices, whether they want to play the connect or the capture. So the question is, which of those 2 moves is better? And that's speaking globally and also locally. So the question was not just with the ko on the board, which one should we do, but also locally speaking, what's the point difference between these 2? So you might be able to tell from that one of these is better for points and the other one is better for co-threats. Obviously, if you play the connect on the outside, that one is better for points because this one allows you to block when black continues to push in, and you get 1 more point on the outside compared to if you capture. So when you capture directly like this, what is still going to be able to block this, but white loses the one particular point here. That used to be white's territory, but now white had to play it to block the area. Additionally, white loses a point capturing the stones, because that stone was actually not necessary in the variation where white would choose to play the connect here. So when white plays the connect, black can push in the future, and he might try to use some shortage liberty techniques over here. But white would not necessarily have to answer to capture these 3 stones before passing at the end of the game. The only situation where white maybe would have to spend that move is if black managed to get some kind of sente. So it's possible white would have to answer inside to this cut if this is done in like a different order, and then we could play sente move, Atari, force you to answer because of the additional cutting weaknesses that you left out here, even when you played the connect, so rather than capturing. So basically the aji that you leave behind on the bottom side, when you connect here, black might be able to reduce 1 more point because of that aji. So Dang Yifei described that as half of a point. And therefore this one is locally better by 2 points, except for the aji, which should give black half a point expected or so. And therefore this one is, locally speaking, 1.5 points better than the capture. If you capture, though, obviously black has a lot less co-threats. So we're fighting a pretty big co on the top side of the board. That obviously matters. The question is how much? And the answer is it definitely matters more than 1.5 points, because this is not just 1 or 2 co-threats. It's actually going to be a lot of co-threats. Let me count. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, excuse me. Oh man. I think it's 5, 6, 7 co-threats here that black gets in addition. So 1.5 points or 7 more co-threats for black. Let's see. So we're going to go through this happening. White plays a co-threat asking to enter. Black plays a co-threat in the upper right side first. And black uses the throw-in. So this is the first co-threat that was threatening to save the 3 stones. And then black plays to answer the white local co-threats everywhere else, because he knows he has a big co-threat factory on the bottom side here. So he's going to play Atari, Atari, cut. So this is already co-threat number 4, and white answers on this side. If white had chosen to answer by Atariing directly on the other side, then the white group over here would have actually potentially been weaker, and having to capture the stones on the inside loses you more points. So he had to answer on the outside like this to make sure he wouldn't lose points locally answering to these co-threats, but that means this is co-threat 5 on the bottom side here. This is co-threat number 6. Black plays this one, which I believe is a co-threat for the other side. Now white needed to fix to make sure that he gets an eye over here and in a comfortable way. This is co-threat number 7. So that was 7 co-threats on the bottom side. And by the end of this, white is feeling really exhausted, you could say. Even though white had a million co-threats in other places of the board, trying to push into the boundaries, trying to attack this group in the upper right, 7 extra co-threats to black. You never have that many co-threats that you can just allow the opponent to have 7 more and still try to win the co comfortably. So white has 1 more comfortable Atari, but black has some more comfortable co-threats still. And finally, white plays here, Hane. This was possibly the losing move. So Dang Yifei said that AI said he should play here, and this would have been a way to win. This is a very weird thing to do during a ko, because black could simply win the ko. And why did you play there? It has to be that we're trying to live on the top side. And there are some ways that we can try to use the connection under on the top. The common way to try to kill this is to play the 2-2 peep and the jump this way, to steal all of your territory away on the left side. But there was actually some nice Tesujis here that white could continue to play. So if white had played block like this, when black plays to connect back, white can use this one, threatening to connect and at the same time creating this throw in and ko on the top side. So this would have been a ko for life to steal the game back for Dang Yifei. And since black already used a lot of his co-threats and white still has a couple major co-threats, it could have been winnable for white. There are many ways that black can try to resist that. There are, for example, other ko's locally speaking. So here there was another variation. If black plays like this to deny that technique, then in this case white will play wedge and play like this to create a ko. And this way we make a ko for another I like there. And additionally, black didn't have to solidly connect to win the ko right away and allow you to do something in the corner. Black could instead answer, meaning that this white group is still dead in the corner. But if black did answer like this, the reason why this would have been a good exchange for white right now is that it created co-threats. And that's not even in order to win the ko here, it's actually in order to create another ko on the left side and demonstrate that we have enough co-threats to win this one, which is a very important ko as well. We really want white to be able to force black back to connecting here. If that happens, white gains a lot in sente with the ko on the left side and then can still maybe try to win the ko over here too. So, Dang Yifei said, "This is so weird and hard, and I didn't see it at all." Um, he said, "I don't really feel bad about losing the game. Once that was the only way that I had to win. If I couldn't find that, then I lose. Then fair enough, I lose." And he was really more sort of upset with himself over the prior mistakes, like the one where he gave black 7 extra co-threats for 1.5 points. He he thought that was the real losing move, basically. I remember that there was chatter at the time. I remember reading something about how people had looked into this AI variation with the 3-3. This is one of the more confusing variations that there's ever been in a World Championship Grand Final while AI was out. And some people looked into that and they concluded that actually AI was wrong. So the reason why Dang Yifei presents that variation to us is that I believe Fine Art said if he plays there, then he has more than 50% win rate. He's likely to win. And then some people had gone deeper, researched it further, and concluded that even if he played that move, he was probably still losing anyway. But obviously, the way that these World Championships are broadcasted these days, everybody in the commentary booth is using AI. It's just something that they're doing. And so when this situation was happening live, all of the viewers had to sort of come along for the ride, even though AI was itself making a mistake. The pro commentators, they can't tell that easily just without even looking at it. And obviously the viewers who are trying to listen to the pro commentators who don't even understand how this AI variation might be working, they don't necessarily understand either. And some people were quite upset that they had been basically watching a broadcast of the AI making mistakes against the AI while watching Dang Yifei make mistakes against Shinjin-so, and the broadcast talked more about even the AI variations than Dang Yifei versus Shinjin-so. It's kind of upsetting, right? This is one of the reasons why when I do live commentary, I'd like not to use AI. I do look at my, my variations that I'm going to present to you guys here with AI, because I like to not be lying to you and just completely wrong. But I only do that once I feel like I understand what the AI shows me. Usually when I feel like I understand, I still could understand a bit better. Um, I'm not perfect like that, of course. Um, I thought it was pretty interesting, especially because when this happened and I knew I have to present this to you guys, I decided, oh, you know what? Why would I tell you about AI research that I'd heard other people do when I could also do the AI research? I've been doing AI research for many, many, many pro games to present to you guys. And so I looked into this too, trying to mix my own logic and human understanding with the AI telling me what the win rates are. And I came to the conclusion that, objectively speaking, this move is no worse, it at least transposes to the 3-3 variation. And from a human perspective, it makes a lot more sense. When you play this move, we're trying to press for that, immediate sente gain in the ko directly. And still, when you play this one, it's gonna be very nasty for black to try to figure out how to kill you. And you can give black that same pressure where it's like, do you want to win the ko but then give me more Aji in the corner? Or do you want to keep the corner, give me more ko threats there and not win the ko? You can give black that same pressure, but it's in a more logical way because we're actually showing the ko that we're creating the ko threats for first. It just makes more sense if you're gonna create this and use this thing as co-threats for it. Why not create the first, and then create the co-threats for it? Because black isn't gonna go over here. That doesn't make any sense. Black doesn't want to win this right away. Living the corner is way bigger. So I don't see any resistance, any logical resistance to simply playing on the left side first. This doesn't really show up in the AI's policy networks, but as far as I can tell, from win rate perspective and playing out all the variations, there's no punishment to playing here. And my understanding of why the AI chooses this one is just that the AI likes reading it better. uh, I don't think that there's anything particularly special about 3-3ing now, as opposed to just creating the other code that we're going to fight. And then it makes so much more logical sense to play the 3-3 than it did to play the 3-3 right away. But even Dang Yifei didn't mention playing on the left side first to create this left side ko first. And I think this is just something of a blind spot that we have, that we trust the computers way too much. It's very likely, actually, that they're going to overvalue some things in the policy network and just look into it more, especially when the correct variation is likely to transpose. They aren't going to show us the most natural human way to get to the correct variation. They're going to show us the way that they want to get to the correct variation, whatever it is. And so that's going to confuse all sorts of people. The pro commentators, even Dang Yifei to some extent, compared to if you take your time to really research it as a human, just by yourself, with AI, it could help as well. But just by yourself, you get a more logical perspective of what's going on. So anyway, my final conclusion of what's going on in this position is that the AI is a really bad tool at live commentating, giving suggestions. It's good at live commentary, give ideas, but give suggestions of exactly how this is going to go, it just will confuse us. So I am further and further in the camp of live commentary needs to be no AI. Personally speaking, after seeing this game. But mostly, I'm just impressed by the quality of play. This game made a lot more sense to me than the other ones, than Game 1 and Game 3. Personally speaking, I just liked this game more. It makes more sense. I wanted to mention as well, when Shinjin-se made this mistake, Dang Yifei said Shinjin-se got a little excited. Which, yeah, is probably true. This is just the natural continuation to what he'd done already. So he already managed to block off and capture those 5 stones, so he wanted to finish the 5 stones, right? So logically speaking, once you cut the 5 stones and it was glorious and great, then you should continue capturing them. But he shouldn't have done that. Instead, he should have switched and blocked the left side first, because you just accomplish more per move. It's just about how much every player is getting per move, not how much you're getting in total, right? The 5 stones being captured or not is not really a major portion of blocking. The main way that people do this well is with under expectation, which I talked about in my review of a Go Sagan game a couple months ago. I'll link it here, I think. Under expectation is the word I use for when you say, wow, I really want to do this thing. It looks really cool. Well, what if I just didn't? Is this line of thinking. And this is the line of thinking which Go Sagan was tremendous at. But not just him, everybody who's a top pro. Under expectation is just necessary in order to be able to judge things fairly. Because when it comes to whether you should keep the 5 stones or keep the left side here, it looks like keeping the left side is less important. Capturing the 5 stones looks better. But when instead of thinking about keeping it, when you think about, I have neither of them, in which place can I gain more, it becomes much more clear, much easier to understand. When you play in the center, what you gain is the block, but what you give is white territory as well. And the left side move that white plays gains a lot with this threat to capture and threat to reduce the upper left as well. So from the perspective of, I haven't blocked the left side and I haven't captured these 5 stones in the center, let me under expect both of them, just respect the current state of the board as one where I haven't taken either, and which one would I like to acquire from now? That's the framework, the frame of mind that the top pros are always in when they're thinking about trades. And so the reason why Dang Yifei said Shinjinsa got excited, it's basically saying Shinjinsa didn't go through the normal practice of under expectation to go through a solid thought process. He skipped some steps and just continued with what he was doing. Which is totally understandable, but again, if you are one of those people who think Go Saigon was the greatest and all the modern pros suck, this is one of the moments where Go Saigon would definitely have taken the left side rather than the center. I feel pretty confident about that. And um, yeah, the old masters were very good. They have some definite moments that they could one up the modern masters. Although I think Shinjinsa could give Go Saigon no komi. Anyway, this was another great game, and because I was delayed by the audio issue, I've actually already watched the Dang Yifei game, game 3, the masterclass. It was actually a really good one. The people live watching said this was the best one yet. I kind of agree, although I didn't understand it as well, so it's going to take me a bit, but I will get that to you next week. I hope you enjoyed this one and enjoy the next one. And we're going to be going for actually quite a while here. I'm really excited because I'm going to be in master classes once a week for the next 3 months at least. I'm so excited, guys. Thank you all for watching. This is so cool. I'm looking forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.